Welcome to Bible for Modern Minds podcast.
Hey, we're not examining geopolitics through policy or, economics. We are plunging straight into a really profound human dilemma. What happens when your deepest conviction, your faith, requires you to sacrifice everything, your career, your family's future, your own freedom?
That's our focus. We've done a deep dive into the intense and often invisible world of unregistered house churches in modern China. And our guide through this reality is the testimony of one man, a pastor. He was a successful engineer in Chengdu, and he was forced to make that exact choice.
Right. Our sources here, they're detailed personal accounts, human rights reports, and they lay out a chilling but also an incredibly inspiring reality. And our mission today is really to distill the key takeaway for you, to understand the immense personal cost. We're talking loss of a family's future, years in prison, and then exile. All to adhere to a faith the state does not control.
It's a story that really challenges our Western, often very comfortable idea of what freedom of conscience even means.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start at the beginning, the hidden seed of it all. The pastor we're focusing on, he was born in 1975, Chengdu, Sichuan province. And his early life sounds like textbook conformity. His father was a factory worker, his mother a teacher. Everything was managed, controlled, safe as a cage, he called it.
But there was this one exception to all that control, his grandmother. She remembered a time before the revolution, when churches were actually open. And when he was a little boy, he would notice her. She'd lock the door and just whisper. Late at night sometimes, she was praying.
Wow, what an image. The absolute secrecy just to speak to God. And that secrecy became a legacy, didn't it? When he was 12, his grandmother got very ill. And she pulls out her most precious possession. It was this old book hidden under her pillow with pages like tissue paper, a Bible she'd kept secret for decades.
She told him it contained the words of eternal life. 3 days later, she passed away. And he took that Bible and hid it under the floorboards in his room. That was the seed, planted in the most controlled environment you can imagine.
And it just stayed there for 7 years. His conversion wasn't immediate. It came from a feeling of emptiness. At 19, he's an engineering student, successful path ahead, but he just felt completely adrift. He started going to these secret Christian meetings, arguing with them, mocking them at first. But eventually that emptiness led him back to the floorboards.
Right. He gets that hidden Bible and starts reading the Gospel of Matthew, reads all night. And he said when he got to the crucifixion, he just collapsed, crying. He felt fundamentally changed. The cost was immediate, too. His girlfriend left him, his grades dropped, but he felt he'd found something priceless.
He was baptized just 2 weeks later, and the ceremony itself tells you everything about the risk. It was at 3:01 a.m. in a river outside the city, and they had 6 people posted on the banks just watching for security patrols.
Incredible. By 2001, he'd met Lin Mei, a young woman who had already lost her job because of her faith. They got married 8 months later. A simple, non-legal ceremony, just 20 believers present. The state didn't even recognize their marriage.
And they started a family. Even their daughters' names reflected this hope they had. Anne, born in 2003, means peace. And Min, born 2006, means joy. And by 2006, he felt this call to lead. That tiny group, it grew from 5 or 6 people to a network of over 200 by 2010. Meeting in these small, constantly changing secret locations.
And this is where we hit the absolute core of the conflict. The reason he would eventually lose his freedom. His church, like thousands of others, refused to register with the state-controlled religious bodies. Specifically, the Three Autonomies Patriotic Movement and the China Christian Council.
Wait, let's clarify that for people who aren't familiar. What is the Three Autonomies? Is that basically the state's control mechanism?
Precisely. It's the official state apparatus for all approved religious activity. And the refusal to register wasn't political, it was theological. But it carried this immense legal risk. Because registering meant submitting to the Communist Party above Christ. It meant getting every sermon approved, registering every member, swearing allegiance to party ideology, things they believed fundamentally contradicted the Bible.
As he put it, they couldn't serve 2 masters. They couldn't agree to remove Bible verses that conflicted with Marxism or hang the national flag in what they saw as God's house. That one decision put them in direct opposition to the state. And the state, it started to notice.
Oh yeah, that opposition, it ramped up dramatically around 2012. And the pressure didn't start with arrests. It started with intimidation.
Yeah.
You see this with another local leader, Pastor Jiang Wei. He was invited for tea, which is the euphemism for interrogation. They showed him a detailed dossier, his movements, his finances, everything.
And when he refused to register?
The hammer dropped. He and 15 members were arrested. He got 18 months of re-education through work. And we saw new regulations being enforced with this brutal rigor. Flags had to be displayed, pastors forced into political training. But the most devastating one, the one aimed at the future of the church, was the explicit ban on children under 18 attending any religious service.
And the state was making these very physical statements, too, like the campaign to remove crosses?
Absolutely. Over 1,500 crosses torn down in Zhejiang province alone. The message was unmistakable. The cross cannot be above the flag. The party controls everything.
And the persecution was modernizing. It wasn't just informants anymore. Between 2012 and 2016, they rolled out massive surveillance, cameras, facial recognition systems everywhere. Intersections, subways, watching everyone, but especially dissidents and unregistered religious groups.
And they weaponized their own infrastructure, which brings us to the chilling efficiency of the social credit system. It wasn't just a financial tool. It became a tool of religious control.
And here's where the long-term cost, for you listening, really comes into focus. One of the pastor's cell leaders, he was arrested for posting a Bible verse online, 45 days in detention. But what happened when he got out?
His social credit score was severely reduced. And that isn't just an inconvenience. In China, that means you can't use high-speed trains, you can't get good jobs, and most critically, you can't enroll your children in good schools.
So the punishment isn't just for you. It's generational. It's designed to functionally kill the future of your family. It targets the Gaokao, the National University exam, which is everything. The state is essentially saying, your faith will cost your children their future.
That's the calculation they want every parent to make. Is your God worth your child's place in society?
And despite all this, our pastor refused. Early 2016, he's summoned, shown photos of his own movements, and given the ultimatum, register or shut down. His response was definitive. He said he could do neither because the church does not belong to me, it belongs to Christ. He knew he was now a target.
The immediate fallout for his family was brutal. His wife, Lin Mei, had already lost 2 jobs. His teenage daughters were facing discrimination at school. But he felt he had to keep going. He saw himself in the line of biblical figures who faced this exact kind of persecution.
And that decision put him on a collision course. Just 42 days after the last quiet Christmas his family had together, the state came for him. This brings us to the price of discipleship. It was Thursday, January 26, 2017. 6 plainclothes officers ransacked his home, mocking the prayers they found in his diary.
He was taken in a windowless van to a detention center, barbed wire, cold. The interrogation wasn't about information. It was about psychological destruction. They put him in a room with a spotlight, no clock, and they just left the light on for days. It's sleep deprivation, meant to break your will.
They kept trying to force a confession, illegal religious activities, foreign funds, trying to frame his little ministry as some kind of national security threat. But he wouldn't sign their pre-written document.
He was released after 9 days, no formal charges, but the warning was crystal clear. And he realized the campaign had become a nationwide siege. The push to Sincicize religion, to integrate Marxism into sermons, and to ban all religious activity for anyone under 18.
He managed to evade them for almost 3 years. But in October 2019, his luck ran out. He was snatched on his way to the subway. The charge this time, serious. A political crime, inciting the subversion of state power.
6 months later, the trial was a formality. The verdict was already decided. Guilty. The sentence: 7 years in a re-education through labor center in the remote Xinjiang region. 7 years. Just gone. All for refusing to put the party before Christ.
Life in that camp was grueling, designed to exhaust you, to demoralize you. Wake up at 5 a.m., 8 hours sewing clothes for export, then 2 mandatory hours of political instruction, being told over and over that religion is a mental illness, that the party is your only salvation.
And the goal, the ultimate goal, was forced renunciation through these ritualized self-criticism sessions. But when the physical and psychological pressure didn't work, the state went for the one thing they knew he loved most: his family.
This is the ultimate test. It's just a vicious, stunningly effective attack. 3 months into his sentence, the warden calls him in, and he offers him a deal. Better conditions, a reduced sentence, contact with his family. All he has to do is sign one document, renouncing Jesus Christ.
And the warden weaponizes his love for them. He shows the pastor recent photos of his daughters. He explains that Anne, his oldest, had been rejected from university because of his record. Her future was closed. He showed him a picture of Lynn May working 2 cleaning jobs to get by.
The temptation must have been immense. It's your family's security versus your spiritual integrity. And yet he looked at the warden and refused. He said, Jesus Christ isn't an idea you can just trade away. Signing it would be lying about the most important thing in his life. The consequences were immediate.
Immediate and terrifying. He was thrown into isolation, a tiny concrete cell, 2 meters by 3, no windows, reduced food, 8 months. He described it as extreme mental torture, where doubt and regret just screamed at him in the dark.
He said he was at his lowest point. Just thoughts screaming at him to sign the paper, end it all, see his daughters again. He was moments from calling the guard.
But then, the inexplicable happens. He's lying there, and the cell just fills with this light. Not the harsh prison light, but a warm, golden glow. He felt this overwhelming presence and a clear message in his mind. I am with you. I never left you. And the despair just vanished.
Wow. From that moment, he said, the isolation was transformed. It became expended time with God. He realized they could control his body, but they could not touch his spirit.
And that internal change, it set the stage for what happened next. When he was finally returned to the general population, his faith became a lifeline for others. He started noticing other scattered Christians. Through these subtle signs, a quiet moment of thanks before a meal, a certain calmness under pressure.
The invisible church, operating right under the guards' noses. He started exchanging memorized Bible verses with another elder, Brother Chen. They even had a secret communion save breadcrumbs and a sip of juice huddled in a corner.
And most incredibly, he led a former dissident, a man named Lu, to Christ. He baptized him, secretly, with a bucket of water in the communal bathroom. He realized the state wanted to silence him, but God was using his suffering to expand the kingdom.
Then, late 2020, during the chaos of the COVID lockdown, the underground network made contact. They had a plan, a risky one, stage a medical emergency during a hospital transport.
The execution sounds like it's straight out of a movie. On the day, their transport van breaks down near a ravine. 2 men get out of a vegetable truck, quickly unlock their handcuffs with duplicate keys, and hide them under burlap sacks and vegetable crates. They were free, but the most dangerous part of the journey had just begun.
The next 3 months were a testament to the silent heroes of the Chinese church. He and Brother Chen were passed along this clandestine network, moving every few days, hidden under coal in a truck one day, sheltered by an elderly Christian couple the next.
These are just ordinary people, risking years in prison to give a fugitive a hot meal or a safe place to sleep. It's a network built on profound, quiet courage.
And then he gets this incredible news. His family had escaped through a separate route, Vietnam, Thailand, and were heading to South Korea. The final step was for him to get out of the country.
A treacherous 3-day trek across the mountains to the Myanmar border. They get to this 40-meter-wide, fast-moving river in the pitch black. While crossing on a rope, the pastor gets swept away by the current. Brother Chen just barely manages to pull him to safety on Myanmar soil.
He finally made it. Arrived in Seoul, April 2021, treated for severe malnutrition, chronic infections.
And that leads to the reality of exile. The family was reunited 3 weeks later, but the psychological wounds were deep. He says he still wakes up expecting guards. He struggles with survivor's guilt, feeling disoriented by the very freedom he fought so hard for.
And the reality for the family was tough. Anne, now 19, had to put her dreams on hold to work in a restaurant. Min was trying to catch up on years of law school. Lin May was cleaning offices. Their future was derailed, but their conviction was intact.
And despite the risk of becoming persona non grata, of never being able to go home again, he decided to share his story. His new purpose, he says, is to be a voice for those who cannot speak, and to awaken the world to the persecution, which has only gotten worse. Now it involves AI tracking, intense indoctrination in schools.
It's such a profound paradox. The persecution gets worse. We know other leaders are serving 9-year sentences. Their health is failing. And yet, the underground church in China is growing.
Estimates now are around 100 million Christians in China. The fire hasn't destroyed the church. It has refined it. It burned away what he calls cultural Christianity, faith as a social habit, and revealed who truly belongs to Jesus. The purification has made the church stronger, not weaker.
And that purification led him to this ultimate reflection. At a forum in 2023, a young pastor asked him the hardest question of his life. If you could go back, knowing the exact price, the camp, the cost to your daughters, would you still choose to pastor?
His answer was just powerful. He said yes, because Jesus Christ is worth everything. He clarified that Suffering for Christ is not a romance. It hurts, it tears you apart, but it brings a meaning that comfort never can.
An incredible journey. From a hidden Bible under the floorboards, through the hell of a labor camp, to a voice in exile. And the cost was real. Years lost, his daughter's future derailed, a deep trauma that he carries with him every day.
But the legacy is clear. For them, persecution isn't an obstacle to faith. It's a participation in the sufferings of Christ, and it's forging a generation in China that understands the true cost of discipleship and chooses it anyway.
Which leaves us with the question this pastor now poses to us, to those of us who live in safety. This isn't just a story about China, it's a challenge to examine your own heart.
So ask yourself this. If following your deepest moral truth, if following Christ cost you your freedom, your family, and your future, would you still follow? Use the freedom you have to pray for, to support, and to act on behalf of those who can't speak for themselves. Build your life on a rock so that when the storm comes, you remain standing.